This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where we are with a wonderful herd of elephants drinking. My name is Steve and welcome on board. We are very excited to have you on your live African safari. And welcome to Djuma. We are with a wonderful herd of elephants here at Vuyatela watering hole. They are quenching their thirst on this very sort of nice winter's afternoon, 23 degrees Celsius. Just going to stay on them a moment longer as we watch them enjoy wonderful, beautiful water. We've been watching them for about 20 minutes as they've been resting in the shade. And we've got the timing just right as now they come out for a drink. If you have any questions and comments, you can send them through to #WildEarth. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream or use Twitch @FC as your preferred platform. Wonderful to hear those noises. Welcome everybody, my name is Steve FAULCONBRIDGE. I'm joined by Niels, and how exciting is it to spend time with these wonderful big animals here drinking water. It is a very, very special time of day. With elephants, I can spend all day long with them. And we're going to spend a little bit longer as we watch them enjoy this wonderful afternoon.
Good afternoon from another fantastic day here at Tswalu Kalahari Reserve. It's just going to be a wonderful day, and I'm really pleased that you can all join us for this. We're sitting in a water hole. It's going to be fantastic. I know it already. We're going to have some good animals coming down. We've had some buffalo, there's mongoose, there were jackals here earlier, there's a shelduck, there's oryx around. So I think it's going to be a really, really good one. And yeah, enjoy your live safari with us in Africa. There's a yellow mongoose coming in to drink. Oh my goodness, I actually thought he was going to come in later. This is quite early in the day for him. I'm just going to talk a little bit softer in case I spook him. But we've seen them drinking later in the day normally. But the temperatures are getting higher now. So it might be that their water requirements have just moved up a little bit. That's why it's coming down a bit earlier. It's incredible. Yeah, we're watching this tiny little mongoose. And we got these old buffalo bulls just to our right-hand distance, that mongoose is about 40 yards from us, and the buffalo about 30 yards from us. Yeah, look at that. So this is a yellow mongoose. Yellow mongoose. Jerry has asked, do the mongoose swim? I'm sure they probably can. I've just never seen one doing it. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were able to swim. I mean, most of these things can. The other one, we could even get slender mongoose coming down later. The kudu carcass is just to the left of where the mongoose is that we were watching this morning. We had some fantastic jackal activity on that kudu carcass, that kudu bull there. He was killed by spotted hyenas last night. We confirmed via the tracks earlier today. So he was killed by spotted hyenas. And we could even get slender mongoose moving down and feeding on that carcass later. So this is really, really exciting. Origami has asked, do mongoose play dead, and does it actually work? I've seen footage. I haven't personally seen it, but I've seen footage of dwarf mongoose doing that with yellow-billed hornbills, in fact. So there's something going on there with that, but I haven't seen it personally. So it may work. It certainly attracts the hornbills. But in terms of yellow mongoose, slender, grey mongoose and meerkats that we get here, I haven't seen that kind of behavior in the 4 species that we get on Tswalu. But these things happen, and you never know what to expect. You can get stranger things have happened. It'll be interesting to see. I'm actually hoping either for brown hyena or perhaps spotted hyena later on what remains of this kudu carcass. You could even get something like leopard coming out. They'll feed on this as well. There's not that much meat left. We had a look at it just after we left here this morning. And it had been pretty much well cleaned out. Although around the neck and shoulders, there's still some that the jackals are trying to get to. So it should produce some good viewing later.
Thanks, Dylan. Well, you're back here where we are already producing a very good viewing with the smallest of little babies. You're back with us at Djuma. That tiny little baby is only a few months old. It's very, very close to mum. And using her as some shade, which is very useful. Mobile shade. Babies can get a lot hotter than the adults because they warm up quicker because of small body, but then they can also cool down a lot quicker. So a lot of what elephants do is in response to the needs of the youngsters. The youngsters can't walk as far as adults could. They have different requirements. Obviously they suckle for the first year to 2 years, year and a half to 2 years, so they don't need to feed on food, but mum has very big energy requirements to not only feed herself, but to provide enough nutrients to lactate. It's trying to learn how to use the trunk. It takes 2 years for them to really figure it out. Right now, all it has to do is lift that trunk up and place its mouth directly on the mammary gland to suckle. It cannot suck water up at the moment, and it can barely coordinate and pick up much with that trunk, but it does take a bit of practice, and after a period of time they're able to feed and do exactly what elephants need to do. Doesn't mean they're not inquisitive, like human babies sitting next to the parents in the kitchen playing with their own pots and pans. Fad, do you want to know if mongooses are related to elephants? No, not at all. But an animal that... she's going uphill. Let's see how she does it. Oh, it's hard work. Oh, it's hard work going up. The small rock dassies, or the dassies hyraxes, are related to elephants, very strangely. But mongooses, no. Mongooses all fall underneath the predator or carnivore sort of order, whereby means that they feed on meat, not exclusively. Some of them are omnivores, but they've got very different dentition. Elephants are very, very special in their design. They are massive vegetarians, and they are very, very cool creatures, aren't they? They are all slowly moving away after quenching their thirst. One by one, the elephant herd disappears into the thickets. Always amazes me how such giants can disappear like that. GM the hippo is always hiding these days. It seems he's hiding in the bushes. Don't know where he is at the moment, or unless he's been holding his breath for half an hour. I doubt that. Don't know where he is. Maybe he'll turn up in a little bit. But Niels and I are going to try and reposition ourselves to get another view of these elephants as they walk off away from the water.
Just awesome. You're back with us, and we have this gorgeous leopardess archer on Chitwa. Now, Chitwa is just south of Djuma, and we were lucky enough to have her this morning with her 2 cubs and this wonderful leopardess. Her name is Tswalu, but she's a little camera shy this afternoon. I think she's dreaming about her carcass that's still up in the tree. Hi everyone, I'm TRISHALA and I've got BK on camera this afternoon on Chitwa. It's very quiet at the moment, which is why it's just awesome to be the first ones here. Now she is lying down, and that's because she's got a lot of digesting to do after that impala that she so elegantly strung up in that tree. It's a marula tree not very far from her. Well, that was a very rude game drive radio. Well, here's the impala. As you can see, really stretched it out. Most of the meat is gone, and Tswalu does have 2 cubs that we haven't seen just yet. They are around somewhere. They're about a year old, and they would have also had to have some of this carcass. Hi Aniruddha, you'd like to know why do leopards sleep in the day? Well, that's because in the daytime, like lots of predators, it is very warm, and predators are actually very exposed, or rather during the day they can be, other animals are moving about and they can be quite exposed, so it's preferable to kind of just keep a low profile. But apart from that, and the most important thing, is that it is very hot, and they are quite susceptible to overheating. Remember that these animals don't sweat, they can't cool down like us. So what they tend to do is find a spot of shade and relax in that time. Because in the evening, starting from the early evening, as soon as it starts to cool down, they'll be up and about, moving, hunting, using a lot of energy for those short bursts when it comes to stalking and hunting. And remember, a lot of the time they will hunt, but we see the successful one. There's lots and lots of failed ones that still take energy. So they get very, very tired. And like right now, Tswalu is very tired from all the meat she's been eating and had to use energy to actually digest.
So this has been pretty incredible since we've been sitting here over the past 10 minutes. We just had a parade of a gemsbok, a blue wildebeest, and now this magnificent hartebeest bull. And they came walking out about 40 yards apart. He's just twigged onto us. The wind actually swirled over there, but they'll come back. But they came out in this long line, and like say 40 yards apart, one after the other. It was almost like, okay, here's an example of an oryx. Here's an example of a wildebeest. Here's an example of a red hartebeest. So it was pretty cool to see that. It just spooked. We haven't seen hartebeest yet at this dam since we've been doing this, not that I can recall. So this might just be a bull that's moved into the area recently. That's probably why it's spooked with us. But just so you know, for those of you who haven't been with us before, we're sitting in this like little blind that we've made over here with some branches. There we go. So we're about 6 yards from the edge of the water. And it's been a very, very, very effective screen. As you can see, we had buffalo here earlier. And you'll see during the course of the afternoon how many animals actually come and drink here. And they don't even take a second look at this little blind that where we're sitting in. As long as obviously we just keep our voices down, and the wind should ideally be in our favor. There's also reports of cheetah in the area, mother with 4 cubs that was moving in this direction. No sighting, it was just based on tracks. So hopefully we'll get something coming out later. But I'm particularly interested in doing this afternoon. Look at those gemsbok out there. In light of the fact that we've got that kudu kill there. So that could bring in some scavenger activity a little bit later. Beautiful gemsbok bull, or oryx bull rather.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. My name is Clive, and behind the camera today we have Marcel. And this morning, for those of you who were watching, we were searching for, we came down this road, there were 3 rhinos, we were waiting with them, and as soon as the show started, the rhinos ran off. The rhinos ran off into the bushes. And we never saw them on this morning's safari again. But here they are, back on the road. And how special is this to have 3 rhinos really not far away at all? I mean, they're only 10 or so meters in front of our vehicle. Beautiful. Look at how that square mouth of the white rhinos really helps for them to get right down to the ground level and eat the grass. Wheelie Girl, I'm glad you think it's a good view, and I agree, it really is. You can't get too much better than that. So this is the mom, the one on the left-hand side, the mother, the female, adult female. And her calf is probably that one that's closest to her, just behind her. And then there's another calf that she's kind of adopted along the way, which is the one a little bit further away, I would say. I would say that's what's going on here. You can see how much bigger she is, though, than these calves. Pranav, that's well noticed. Why are their ears so short? I suppose they are relatively small compared to the size of the body, but they are pretty big ears all in all. They have excellent hearing. You can see they move them independently. One of them did anyway. So they have really, really good hearing. But I wouldn't say they're really that small. I suppose they are quite small for the body size. But yeah, no, they're big enough for what they need them for, though. It definitely makes up for the size of their eyes and their not so great eyesight.
Look They are a lot smaller than elephants, but they're pretty big, aren't they? We're back with another small little fellow. You're back on Juma, everybody, and we've caught up with our herd of elephant. Normally, after they've had a drink, they move away from the water very slowly as they go to feed. And you're going to get some on the right here moving across. Oh, there we go. Here comes a mama. Very pretty. They never seem like they're in much of a rush, everybody. Except when they are. Every now and again they get a little bit excited to move over to the water to drink. Wonderful little family of elephants. Adara, 100% right. Elephants have so much pleasure swimming and throwing dust on themselves, as you can see with this fellow. They love it. They love it. I mean, they weigh so much that when they get into the water, elephants got very big lungs, and the lungs are attached pretty much to the spinal column, so it keeps them quite buoyant. So in the water, excuse me, they are very, very buoyant. And when you weigh as much as an elephant does, and gravity's always playing against you, being in the water must feel quite incredible. I mean, the largest mammals in the world live in the water, and so elephants love to swim, and I absolutely love watching them. Hello everybody, all of our usual internet viewers. How are you doing this afternoon? We are always excited to have you with us on board. Gary, that's a good question. It is a very good question. It's hard to say without having fossil records to know. But the tusks of fork-tailed drongos are having a hard time with these elephants. Yes, Mama, we saw you there. The rock dassie, or should I say the hyrax, they've also got tusks. Basically means their incisors are elongated a bit. And it would have started off as a very small process. And as elephants got bigger and bigger and bigger, and their body got bigger, and their use of tusks got more and more prevalent with the need to access bark and the use of tusks for fighting with regards to males, they would have probably, through genetics, the bigger the male, the bigger the tusks, the more he mated or dominated other males. And so that genetic trait, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat, that genetic trait was passed on. And if it's successful and benefits the species, then those genetic traits are passed on, and obviously they proliferate. As we spoke about, I think the day before yesterday, not all elephants have tusks, and they are essentially just extensions of their teeth. But they do use them for gouging bark and breaking sticks. You're right then, Niels. Can I move back for you quickly? Our internet viewers won't mind us moving. They know the hardships of trying to keep elephants in frame.
Sorry about that, guys. But at least you get to see a lounging Tswalu. She's found herself a very nice patch of shade and is now on her back, rolling about. She's got a few pests bothering her. But it makes for great entertainment watching her, because I've been laughing quite a bit at her movements while she's been there. Just a stunning leopard. I'm so glad that we're getting to spend so much time with her these last few days, because we so seldom do get the opportunity to. Beautiful. And her cubs are looking... Oh, there we go. Another little jerk. Oh my god. Sorry. Lots of things bothering her. A little bit restless. Well, her two youngsters are around here. Very well hidden, but we did see them. They're looking beautiful. And big, I must say. They're not too far from the bush braai site at Chitwa. So it's almost as if they're as if they're having a bit of a family braai and they're just chilling. Oh, Tswalu! That feel good. Katie, you'd like to know how old Tswalu is? Tswalu was born in 2013, towards the end of the year. I'm sure it was 2013, but I think it was around December or November. It was towards the end of the year. So she's almost 7. Her two youngsters are almost a year old. I think they were seen in August 2019 first. Now I say I think because we don't actually get to spend lots of time with her and these youngsters, so a lot of the information we get is, you know, second hand, or someone said something, they heard this. But the youngsters still look like they may be a year old. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's have a quick look, BK, at our two cubs. They're very, very well hidden. Male and female. It's the male cub that's actually been walking around quite a bit. The female's been a little bit more relaxed. Male's been walking around, watching us, and now he's gone and joined his sister. And he's just, well, both of them tucked away and relaxing, enjoying their family session this afternoon.
So these lapwings have been giving us some really, really good viewing over the past couple of weeks. And so this is one of the youngsters. You can still see it's very, very mottled around the head and the neck, as well as on the wings. And what we're seeing is a very distinct change in coloration, going more and more over to the black and white, the very typical coloration of these birds as they're getting older. But still very active, and it doesn't seem like there's been any predation on them so far. We've still got the 4 chicks and 2 elts that have been around from the start. But it's fun watching them feed all along the edge, the shoreline. It's not often that you'll get them going right into further into the dam, unless it's very, very, very shallow. Because you know, they are going for little insects, water insects, little invertebrates. So okay, there it goes. The adults had just flown off a little bit earlier out to the left-hand side of the dam. But they've gone through the really risky period now. At this stage now, unless they get caught by, let's say, a goshawk flying over, or a falcon or something, the risk of predation on these birds at this stage is quite low. They nest often right on the edge of the water, sometimes just within a couple of meters of the water. And then obviously you get the risk of things like buffalo coming in, trampling. You can get big herds of impala moving over the nest site, but normally the adults are quite aggressive. When they're guarding the nest, and they'll put up a real fuss if something comes down that might present a risk to the eggs. I mean, I've even seen buffalo herds going around crowned lapwings. So these are blacksmith lapwings, but I've seen herds of buffalo actually separate and go right around a crowned lapwing nest just because the adults are putting on such a display. And that's pretty cool if you think about it, that even a tiny little bird like that is not completely defenseless. Of course, it's a different story if it's a predator going for the nest. Even baboons will take chicks and eggs of these lapwings. Jackal, caracal will catch them when they're small. Monitor lizards would be a very serious threat to them. I think the pickings along the edge of the dam like this are very, very good now. And if you look at a kudu carcass like that, that's just chucking in a whole lot of extra nutrients into the system. And so I think the feeding, because a kudu carcass like that, although the water's quite cold, but you can even get things like water beetles. These predatory water beetles, they will feed on carcasses like that. And in turn, the larvae of those little ones will be fed on by things like lapwings. So there's a lot of life on a pan like this, and I'm not just talking about the larger stuff, the birds and the obvious things like the oryx drinking and buffalo coming in. But there's always, if you just think of these water bodies in terms of the microinvertebrates, the very, very small things, and the algae and things growing inside this water. It's all very, very, very important parts of these food chains that get built up around a system like this. And a carcass like that kudu, is critically important for just adding extra nutrients into it. So these lapwings, I think they got their bums in the butter now in terms of feeding along the edges of this pan. David says it's not easy being a lapwing. But I think, David, you're quite right. But out here, I don't think it's easy being anything. From the moment you are born or hatched or whatever you are, whatever, or germinate as a seedling, you've got a huge amount of things that you're up against. It can be drought. It can be like major environmental factors, drought, frost, fire, too much rain, you can get floods. I mean, we've had, in my time now, we've had one shower of rain, well, from 8 in the evening till about 5 o'clock in the morning. One evening we had 200 millimeters of rain. Now that sounds like it might be fun if you're living in the tropical areas where it could be the norm. But out here, if you're a tiny little seedling or you growing on the edge of a drainage line, and you get 200 mils of rain, well, that can put paid to your chances of growing any further very, very quickly. So you get all these environmental factors. Frost is a very, very real limiting factor for a lot of things. Then it could just be other animals, like a buffalo coming gobbling you up, or a jackal eating a lapwing, lapwing eggs or chicks. So, and the Shelby family, these shell ducks, when they eventually do start hatching, and I'm hoping that this actually works out as I am hoping it will. And when they'll come down to the water, you're going to see how cute those chicks are. He's actually tucked away. Can you see him there, John? Oh, you got it. But yeah, these chicks come down, they're going to be super vulnerable.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Djuma. We are just checking out and about of the vehicle real quick. We've moved off from those elephants. We left them just slowly feeding as they walked off towards the north. And I know and beyond Pindi you had a little look at some rhinoceros. Well, we've got something very interesting to do with the rhinos right over here. And it starts off with some of the poo. Now I know it's quite interesting to talk about poo, and some people think, why on earth would you want to talk about poo? Well, here is white rhino dung. It's quite easy to identify by this blackness on the outside. Can you see that? Inside the rhino dung, the rhinos feed on a very, very high quality or high concentration of silica, which is in the grass all around here. And the silica, when it oxidizes, leads to this blackness. Okay, so if you actually break it up a bit inside, you can see that it's green because it hasn't oxidized over there. And there's bits of grass material. Very poorly broken up, very poorly chewed. But this ball right over here on the side, it hasn't been kicked. Nothing's happened to it. It's still quite solid. This is sort of what a female will do, or a sub-dominant male walking through to maybe go and have a drink. And then over here, this little wheelie spin over here, you can see these lines in the ground. Can you see that? 2 of them. That is where a male rhino has come, and he's dragged his feet in to this midden. He's probably actually gone out the other way. And here is the actual toilet. Okay, now this is the rhino toilet. This is a latrine, the Facebook of nature, whereby everybody comes to advertise their status and their symbol of maturity, sexuality, and all that sort of thing. And this male will walk in here, and he'll defecate, and he'll take his feet, and he'll kick backwards like this, getting all of that smell onto his feet. And then when he walks out, he drags and drags and drags. And as he walks along his territory, every 30 meters, 100 meters, he will drag his feet, just like you can see here, and sometimes even urinate at the same time. So the smell that he's bringing from this area here follows him along. And that he does quite regularly, especially after rainfall. By demarcating territory, he's telling all the other males, I'm here, I'm occupied. He's telling the females, I'm here and occupied. And everybody knows who's who in the zoo. But females will walk past and do exactly what I demonstrated over here by not kicking it open. This male can come along and he can go, who are you? And if she's an estrus or if something's exciting, he'll be able to follow her all the way. So very, very exciting, very exciting. Alaromua, yes indeed, they are called bulls, a bull rhino and a cow. The bulls around here are, well, wherever you find bulls, especially a dominant bull like that, are big. They are monsters. 3,500 kilograms. And they're not meant to be trifled with, as you've probably seen some of them over on that side and beyond Pinda. A magnificent, magnificent species. And the rhinos are being very busy. Tracks up and down, which is always very exciting. But that's a little status symbol of the rhino communities. And you saw how black that dung was, didn't you? Very easy to identify. Dallas, I'm going to just show you a quick little example of a different piece of dung so you can see the color variation. But Dallas wants to know, is it safe to touch dung with my hands? Well, Dallas, don't try this at home, everybody. Don't. If you're not up to it, there are all sorts of things that you can get off of dung, but herbivore dung is actually normally quite okay. There are probably things that can be picked up, but I play with poo all the time. I know that sounds quite bad. But this is a small elephant dropping, and you see how orange it is. Much more orange, isn't it? Much more orange, and sticks, leaves. You can actually see the leafy material over there. Very, very different from the rhino dung. And the orange is from the tannins we find in the trees. And there's difference between the grasses. There's silica. Elephants will also eat grasses, but they're feeding mainly on trees this time of year. That's why this vegetation or this dung gets very, very orange from the tannin. Like when you tan leather, same sort of process, that orangeness that comes through. I'm going to put that back down again because it is an ecosystem all on its own, as is that rhino midden. And very excitingly, a couple of days ago, rhino midden around the corner, we found a honey badger digging inside the rhino midden, looking for probably all sorts of beetle larvae and grubs.
Oh, cool. I remember when Steve found that honey badger. Awesome, awesome stuff. Out here we can find the most ridiculous sightings. Sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes you end up with 3 leopards and 1 eyeful. which is spectacular. Sometimes people never get to see a leopard in their lifetime. And here BK and I, and you guys, are absolutely spoilt with this gorgeous sighting. I had a question about Sibuyi's name from Hanno, and you wanted to know, what does it mean? Well, Tswalu is actually named after a place in Mala Mala, which is a reserve just to the south of us. And that's where she was born. Oh, we have a cubby on the move. Tucked away very, very nicely. Now this is Sibuyi's second litter. Bernice, that's a really interesting question. You'd like to know if a female would actually know. If a male would know if a female is his daughter. Whenever you read about leopards, it's always that they're solitary and that mothers may associate with their daughters or their youngsters, particularly their daughters, because they tend to border territories with their daughters as opposed to their sons, which may disperse. So that's a really cool question, because our actual experience here doing these live safaris has actually taught us that they can interact. That is, daughters, fathers and daughters, as we've seen with Tingana and Tlalamba. And that's really, really cool, because it's giving us new information that we have not read about and not noticed in the past. And I think that that is a very, very important. And that's part of what's so exciting out here, is that spending so much time with them gives us the opportunity to watch and observe, whereas maybe a study that's done over 3 months doesn't have the kind of data, really, that we have over the years of following these animals. So in short, yes, I think that they can recognize their kin. And I've certainly seen that with my own eyes with Tingana and Tlalamba as an example. I'm just going to guide some other vehicles into this spectacular sighting. I hope that they'll go up and have a bit of a nibble on that carcass for us in a bit.
Hi everyone, welcome to Pridelands Conservancy. Really nice to have you here. I'm Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert, and we're so happy to bring you here on this lovely hot and warm winter's afternoon. We've actually found something pretty cool. It's the first time I've seen it here on Eco-Training Pridelands Conservancy. Actually, we just saw some leopard tracks, and then all of a sudden Gert jumped up and said, I see spots. And I was like, whoa, there's a leopard around here somewhere. And he said, no, not spots, pots. And then over here, we've actually just found, right now, a whole bunch of clay pottery, which has been unearthed. This is an old mound of some sort, and I can actually see, oh, that's amazing, there's bits of coal in here. Look I've just plucked a piece of coal out of this, what I thought was a termite mound. This is obviously an old mound where some people were living here before this was a conservancy, before this was owned by someone. This was probably just free land, tribal land, and maybe the Shangaan people from this area lived here. And there's pots. Look at this. This is a piece of clay pottery. My hand's shaking. I'm so excited. This is a piece of clay pottery. I don't know how old this can be. Hundreds of years old. It can be dozens of, well, not dozens. It's got to be at least 100 years old, because these areas have been owned by farmers for a long time now. So it's absolutely incredible to see. And I didn't even know what to say about it. I mean, literally, it's a piece of clay pottery. It's the first time I've ever, you actually can see, I don't know if you can see that, Gert, there's lines in it where patterns have been put into it. Maybe when the person who was making this pot was trying to make lines, and they would have used a brush of some sort, maybe made of natural animal hair, brushing along it. And if I turn it sideways, you can actually see how nice and thin it is. You can actually see bits of grain in there as well. It's incredible. This is so cool. Shami Ann, this is amazing. This is actually, I think it might be the first that we found here on Pridelands Conservancy. Now, clay pots in themselves are not rare. They're littered all over southern Africa, because remember, there were people living here way before we had safaris and game reserves and farms and all sorts of different things. But to find it is quite rare. You know, to have it exposed on this little mound here and to see it this afternoon when Khair jumped up and told me there were spots was pretty amazing. Shami Ann, I hope that we can actually maybe even excavate some of this to see what else is here. This might have been where whoever was living here before put their waste material. So when they had a fire, sometimes you'll find bones in here from when they threw it away. Maybe this pot was broken and they were disposing of it and they threw it here in this pile because it's actually loose dirt. It's not like a termite mound. If I come over here, you can see it crumbles away so easily. A termite mound wouldn't do this. A termite mound would be solid and hard. And so this means that this was earth put here by someone. It wasn't naturally occurring like this. This would have been a pile of dirt. I would be amazed to see what else we could find if I dig around in this little mound of earth. Although I probably have to find... before you start excavating stuff like this, you need to get permission from the landowner, because this can be quite an important archaeological site, just for the natural history of this particular area. Maybe not important in terms of the whole national or world scheme of things, but just to give us an insight as to Pridelands Conservancy, what was happening here, who was living here. This could be a really amazing find. There's so much of it here. This is more than one pot. I bet if I dug this, there's a whole tree here. If I dug this out, I'm sure I'd find this tree is actually dead. It was a piece of zebra wood, I think, or a sickle bush maybe. But if I dug around underneath here, I'd find a lot more stuff. Oh, I'm going to get my hands dirty. Noel is asking me whether I will leave these pots here or I'll collect them up. And Noel, I think I will leave them here for now, whilst I just maybe speak to some of the other guides, some of the other instructors and the landowner to find out what they would like to do with this, if this is maybe the first that they found on the property, or if there are other sites like this on Pridelands, and then we'll go from there. We might have to consult some professionals who deal with anthropology and the history of the local area, just to find out how exactly we go about dealing with this now. These pieces that are just on the surface, I mean, I can handle them because they're loose. It looks like maybe this year at some point there was rain and this washed away and this was exposed. So I can pick these up, but before I dig any further, I will need to find out whether it's okay and how to deal with this. But no doubt, this is pretty amazing.
We're still here, and our cubs have not moved very much at all. But we do have a good view of Tswalu. She seems to have found a relaxing spot for now after being a little irritated by all things flying around and the grass stalks in her way. Do you see how sweet it was when she pushed the grass away from her face with her paw and then leaned her paw on it so it wouldn't hit back into her face? And now she is quite happily having a nap, cat nap, in the shade of this brown ivory tree. It is so quiet and so peaceful out here, and we can truly enjoy ourselves with this 3-in-1 leopard sighting. Really nice. I think I may be able to get a bit of a view of these cubs ahead. So how about we move forward just a little bit? You know, the animals are constantly moving, and we've got to kind of adjust to be able to see them. And if you were out here on game drive, we'd do the same thing. Can you hear the crunch underneath the tires from the dry grass. Oh, let's just look at them from here. They've lifted up their heads. Hello, sweetheart. You can see that because they're younger, they look a little bit darker, and that's actually because the spots are more dense, because their bodies are not as big as an adult leopard's. There we have brother and sister relaxing together. I am waiting for the moment where I get to see 3 of these leopards in that tree. But considering how tired and lazy they are right now, digesting all that meat, I think we're going to have to wait quite a while.
Thanks, Trish, and welcome back to Djuma, everybody, where we also had those leopards this morning. We're dying to see them all 3 in the tree, but such is life. Nature will do what it wants to do when it wants to do it. And well, here we have a few very lovely, I suppose you could call them lovely, terrapins, sunning themselves, necks outstretched as they just perch on the bank. We've made ourselves our way to another watering hole, this one called Buvelsoek. Water is, as I've said a few times before, the currency of life, and if you do check watering holes, very good thing to do in the winter months. It's a great place to find animals. They come here to drink. So if you have enough time, enough patience, you can often spot some wonderful, wonderful interactions. Great place for birding too, but right now everything is rather still and serene, but that's okay. There's no hurry. Different time clock out here in the bush. The animals move how they want to, just like those leopards are sleeping. They'll go up the tree and eat when they want to. Now, these terrapins are very interesting creatures. They obviously adapted for life in water. They can move across land, but they require water. And they also often are found feeding off of hippos, basically cleaning the ticks off of the hippos. What you doing there, fella? Cleaning the ticks off of hippos. And if a crocodile happens to have killed something and got it sort of in the water, terrapins will also feed on that. So they give off the most incredible smell when distressed. When something tries to catch them and eat them, they give off a liquid, foul-smelling substance that is nearly impossible to get off of your skin. The smell will turn your nose backwards. Hello, Jilvine. Tortoises and terrapins and turtles are all sort of related. Obviously,
any Buvelsoek vehicles on Djuma?
Sorry about the radio. But apart from turtles being mainly salt water, you can find some of them in fresh water. They basically have a shell on their back and they're not able to pull their head inside. Terrapins are freshwater, they're water loving, and they are able to pull their head in, but from the side at a sideways angle, as well as their legs. So the shell, all chelonians have a shell, and tortoises are land-based terrestrial organisms which walk around and feed primarily on grass. They feed on green grass. Turtles feed almost completely on jellyfish, I believe. And these guys are a little bit more omnivorous. They feed on whatever they can get their beaks on. But they're desperately dependent on water. Tortoises will drink when they can, but they're not really too often found around the water. Although the leopard tortoise that we do find around here, the largest tortoise we have, is a very good swimmer. Jenny, I think all 3 actually are fused to the shell. I think that's parcel of it. The shell has evolved on the body of the animal. It's evolved to protect them. And they require calcium to assist in bone growth and as well as shell growth. I've never noticed a terrapin feeding on bone, but tortoises will often nibble at bone or nibble at hyena scat, because the hyenas feed a lot of bone, and so they ingest enormous amounts of calcium, and tortoises will go along and munch on that, and that's to help them with their building blocks. But they are pretty much attached to the shell inside. They can't just sort of come out and have a day free of no shell. They're inside for life, and the shell grows with them. As their body stretches, so is the shell almost a living entity, which is fantastic. Home on your back. Obviously, it's evolved for a lot of protective purposes. And I suppose it can also assist in being a little bit buoyant, help them to float a bit in the water. But Niels and myself are probably going to wait at the watering hole a moment longer, see if anything else comes down to drink.
I'm so excited. I'm over the moon. This is Shelby, this is Shelly the shell duck that has just come back off the nest to be with her partner and to actually get a bit of feeding in this afternoon. This is fantastic, because this is the one that we've been following. We've been tracking her down, and we actually only found the nest not yesterday, the day before, for the first time in 2 weeks. So obviously she needs to leave the nest occasionally to come and feed. So I'm over the moon that she's just come in. And so he's going to fly in just now. He's just sitting out of sight to the left-hand side over here. But he's going to pop in probably down to where she's feeding there now. This is so good. So this is just like validated all the time spent with him. Because the fact that he's spending all the time by himself here at the dam, and she's only coming in late in the afternoons to feed, tells me that she's definitely sitting on eggs, on a nest underground. And what is particularly interesting about this is, to the best of my knowledge, and I stand completely to correction, Rizka has just asked, who is looking after the nest if she's not there? No one. There's absolutely no one. So, yes, it could get raided by a honey badger or a jackal or whatever, but that's a risk that they run out here. But where I was going with this, and leading on from your question there, Rizka, is, it's, to my knowledge, and I stand completely to correction, it's only the second time that they've actually been, a nest has been located down a spring hare burrow. They're normally down larger burrows like aardvark burrows or even porcupine burrows. And this particular nest seems to be down a spring hare burrow, which is very small. The nest entrance that I saw there is roughly about 25 centimeters high by about 15 centimeters across. So they're able to get down these very narrow, small openings. So I think the nest should be fine. But it's really cool to see that she's come in now, because that means that she's actually just coming in to feed, and we'll go back to the nest a little bit later. And also these temperatures are very stable underground, especially if she's lined it with some warm down and that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun. Angie's asked, are shell ducks monogamous? Yes, they are. They are monogamous, so this pair will stick together indefinitely unless something happens to one of the partners. They get eaten by a crocodile or a honey badger or hit by a meteorite. But otherwise they will stick together. So we've got a little black-backed jackal that's now just coming in. He's going to come into this carcass. Well, I don't know if he will, but I'm guessing he will, being a jackal and there's a carcass here. He's probably going to. So this is very nice. And yeah, it's just going to be totally worthwhile spending a bit of time here. I'm super stoked about seeing that female shell duck. Shelly and Shelby are at it. Yeah, and please thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It's been absolutely fantastic having you with, and I'm really glad that we're able to share these experiences with you all. So thank you for that, and stay safe and stay warm. So those shell ducks took off at a rate of knots, but like I said, there's a couple of other very small dams or water bodies in the area that they'll be utilizing for feeding, so they won't just necessarily be tied to this, but they will defend these sites against others, obviously, because they're going to need this, especially once the chicks are out. And just think that those chicks are now going to walk, on that. I measured the distance. It is exactly 800 meters from the nest site to the dam. So they're going to have to get those chicks, and they're going to be tiny. They're going to be little things like that. And then have to waddle all the way down from there through the bush, ding, 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 all the way down to the dam. And if you think that's pretty hardcore. So I think that probably the safest time is now that they're underground. The other interesting thing that I noted is the challenge that I had with trying to locate the nest is there's not a whole pile of duck tracks all over. So this male, whenever he goes back to the nest, because he'll go back intermittently to stand guard there as well, it's not like he's landing far away and there's duck tracks all over that you can follow back to the nest. So you've really got to pin it down by just observing the area that they're going in, and then try. So I was very, very lucky. There was no skill involved. That was absolute luck finding that. Yeah, it's just exciting, and it's just cool being out here with all of you. I wish you were all here with us.
You are so stoked about life, Dylan. One of the most stoked people I have ever met. Dylan and I in the morning, if we both had a coffee, I don't know who will talk more and who will be more excited about being alive. So we come around now, and there's one of the cubs. The two were sitting here together, and then I think it was the brother who scurried off after giving me the eye. But still a very, very relaxing scene. Now I'm actually going to leave this scene, and I'm going to get Steve to come through. And Raymond will, of course, be with Steve. And then he can have a really nice static sighting to work with without any pressure of people nearby. We're completely by ourselves. A vehicle did come by, and I thought they were going to come and join us. I gave a few hand signals, and then they were gone. So we'll move on, and I'll try the den again. I've been very unlucky with the den these last few days, and I really want to see the hyena cubs. I did tell you that I saw corkies, so we know that that cub is getting fed. And there's tracks all around, there's sticks that are being moved around, so we know that it is active. But with various kills around at the moment, we had in Kahumas where the zebra kill not too far from here. There were hyenas around there. So at that time, adults will be moving around, and they will leave the cubs for a substantial amount of time. And the cubs are fine. When it comes to adults leaving them, especially the mothers who would of course need to feed them, they are absolutely fine. They can be unfed for a week, even a week and a half. It seems like a lot, but it has been recorded that they can be left alone for that period of time, and the mothers compensate for that in the richness of their milk. So we'll go and have a look and see. We'll go and check it out later. Dina, you'd like to know why don't Sibui's cubs and Kuchava's cubs have names? They'll usually only get names when they are over a year old, possibly even a year and a half. And when it comes to naming leopards, it's not just up to us. It is the lodge that is involved, and other lodges that get to see these animals are also involved in the naming. And also remember that before a year-old mortality rate is quite high, and these cubs will be a year next month, so let's see what happens.
So we We got our first jackal of the afternoon since we've been sitting here coming down. But you can actually see how and probably when he was on the carcass, those of you with us this morning, you'll remember there was a lot of activity on that carcass, and some of the jackals were actually fighting in the water. So they probably got nice and soaked over there. Let's see what this little guy's up to. There you go. Oh, and his belly's still full from this morning. Oh, or you could say he's barely full. Or belly full. That little tail flick. He's a little bit nervous. Obviously, he doesn't know what else is cruising around here. Like we've mentioned before, a carcass like this could even bring in things like leopard. So that jackal will be... So when they're out, other things are watching you that you're not even aware of. I know what my answer would be.
Afternoon everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. My name is Eric and Owen is behind camera as always. Apologies for arriving so late. We went on a little adventure back towards where those lions were this morning. Found the lions in exactly the same position, but unfortunately what little signal was there this morning is no longer there. So we unfortunately weren't able to broadcast it to you. Luckily at that stage there wasn't too much action going on. It was still hot. They had eaten a good share of that buffalo, and so all of them were resting in the shade, not doing anything. So we didn't miss much at all. All of the action definitely happened this morning. So if you didn't see this morning, it might be worth going to have a look and see what crazy sightings we had with those lions this morning. We decided to start making our way back up towards the northern part of the reserve, or at least into the central part from the south of where we were, and just see what's around. I mean, we haven't really driven there in the last 24 hours, so there's lots of potential stuff going on, hopefully. We might carry on going on with the plan that we first started off with this morning before we got distracted by those lions, and see if we can catch up to some of the leopards that we've been seeing so nicely in the last little while. Otherwise, any interesting birds that we find, I'll happily see if we can try and get them live with you. Well, there's one this time. There we go, speak of the devil. Not the most interesting bird, but definitely one of the most colourful birds. You see it perched up there, Odie? There it is. And I'm sure most of you will be able to recognize it immediately with those nice long tail feathers. And the sun isn't in exactly the right position, but it's a lilac-breasted roller. So it seems like it's sitting up on that tree looking for little insects and things that move around in to swoop down and catch. But I guess, sometimes they hang around an area like this because it's nice and open, so it brings in things like zebras and wildebeest and impalas. And with those big herds moving through this area, it will flush insects out more as they move. And so you never know. It's starting to get to the time where these animals are looking for a place to settle down in. And so maybe this is a spot that it feels like it's a really good position to be in at this time of day. As you look around them, it's just one of my favorite things is those long tail feathers. It's got a cousin called a racket-tailed roller, which looks exactly the same shape as that, just less purple. It's got no purple, it's just literally blue on the front of it, and that's a much harder bird to find. We find them in the northern parts of Kruger, we find them up in Zimbabwe. You don't see them too much in this part of the Kruger National Park. So the reason why they are called rollers, Rebecca, is because of their display that they have. And so if there's a male who is displaying for a female or even for territory, and there's two very close together, they'll fly up to sometimes 30-40 meters in the air, and then they do this tumbling display, and then they regain their balance, and then they eventually land on a stick like that. And so that's how they got their name. The Afrikaans name for the family is called a troupand, or a troupand. My Afrikaans pronunciation is horrible, but it basically directly translates to wedding ring, which I think is quite apt. There it flies. Let's see if it's going to catch something or if it's moving to a different perch. Owen's showing some impressive skill following it. And it's just landed over there. And the sun is directly in front of it, so it doesn't look like we'll get too much color. I think we'll continue on with our drive and see if we can head down towards that river in a nice late afternoon light. It's a good time of day to start scanning the top of these tall trees that we see ahead of us. And the reason being is that we've got a couple of nesting eagles and vultures in this area. this morning I mentioned that these white-backed vultures are starting to look for nests. So there's one pair that's found a nesting site somewhere off to the right of us, and then there's a pair of tawny eagles that have been coming back to the same nesting spot at least for the 4 years, and they also nest within this winter period. So it's actually just up ahead on the road here, so if we don't see the birds themselves, we'll at least show you the nests quickly before we continue on. It's actually really cool. We'll quickly show you here. I'll stop just up ahead because now we can see both of the nests in one view, just with a little bit of camera work from Owen, but I'm sure he's more than capable. But this one here on the left is the one of the tawny eagle. So you can just see at the very, very top of the tree, there's just a big pile of sticks. And definitely no sign of any eagles. And then if we quickly pan across before we send you across to TRISHALA, in the distance there, that's where the vulture nest is. So just so you can see, there we go. All right, so no one home, there it is, in either of the nests. So whilst we carry on towards the river, let's send you across to TRISHALA.
Lovely vultures. I quite like them. We've had such a wonderful day of variety today. I've been really, really enjoying it. The fact that it's a little bit warmer might have also contributed to my enjoyment. I have that feeling like maybe there's spring in the air. Maybe I am being, a bit too positive. A little too optimistic, but I have it's a bit of a smell change. For me, I think that's spring calling. Some of the knobthorns have been flowering as well. Just a few, not all of them. There's one around camp that's been flowering, so perhaps we're not too far off. In fact, we shouldn't be far off at all from spring. I always feel so satisfied when I see a leopard at the beginning of drive. It makes the rest of the drive a gift. You're not trying to find anything, and it just all feels like a gift. It feels like you're just driving through, and whatever the bush wants to give to you today, then that is your boon. And would a drive be complete without seeing a hornbill? Hello, gorgeous red-billed hornbill. Thank you for completing our drive after the leopard.
Like everyone's a gift.
Wild dogs. Sorry, guys. And unfortunately, our hornbill flew away as quickly as we spotted. Oh, there we go. Down here again. These guys almost remind me of the mongoose of the air and ground, as you can see. And that they're so entertaining to watch. Even though we see them fairly often, they're very, very entertaining to watch.
Hey, Gary. Hi, anything to report?
Game Drive really has been quite busy too. I don't know, there's this excitement or this feeling of change in the air. I quite like it. Oh, don't you love it when they lift their heads up like that to try and maneuver whatever it is they've caught? Tiny little insect. Maneuver it into their mouth. Probably little termites underneath those elephant dung balls. Imagine a lint ball the size of an elephant dung ball. Just a thought. Just a random thought. Welcome to the head of Trishala. Then that hornbill would be me. Lovely, just lovely. Oh, bit of a frenzy there. Okay, I have been instructed, I tell you, to let you know that we are doing the Fast Five, which I have now only ever heard of, and it is where you guys send in five of your most random, five random questions, the first five that come to your head, whatever they are, about anything you like, about us, about camp, about animals, about life, about the universe, anything you like, using the hashtag Wild Earth, and we will try to answer them in the same form with which you send them, very fast, hopefully. I think that was my instruction. Did I get it right, Rebecca? Hope so. Ask anything you like, guys. Super fast. Super fast. Fast five, everyone. Oh, wow. I had no idea that this had to do with me particularly, but okay, I have 1 minute to answer the questions. That is great. Thank you. Please don't ask embarrassing questions that I have to think about how I can answer it in a sanitized fashion. Or maybe do, I don't know. Coyote, yes. Was Zazu from The Lion King a hornbill? Indeed he was. Next. He was a yellow-billed hornbill, to be precise. I'm sure. Yeah, come on, Rebecca. Debbie, you'd like to know what animal I would like to be. Debbie, I have no idea. As long as I am a collection of cells suspended in some water, I'll be happy. But if I had to choose, I would say I wouldn't mind being a honey badger. Come on, Rebecca, come on. I'm suddenly jumping on this bandwagon. I didn't even know this was happening. So into it. Ooh, Louis, that is a question. What is for dinner tonight? Have no idea. No idea at all. Louis, didn't even see what was getting defrosted. BK, did you see any evidence?
No, I didn't see it.
Nothing at all?
No.
I will tell you that our chef is excellent at the moment, so I'm sure whatever it is, it'll be awesome. There's nothing like coming off drive and having a good warm dinner. It really is so good. Paul, you would like to know if I am safe on foot in the bush? Ta-da, I am. As long as I have my wits about me. And now I've all revealed my height to all of you. But yes, I'm very safe on foot. Have no issues unless I'm behaving badly. And I do not have my wits about me. Then that will be a bit of a problem. But when we do go for long, extended bush walks, then we do have a game scout with us. And that game scout is basically our protection. It's important to move in a very kind of considerate fashion, move together. Remember, we have a cameraman, we have ourselves, we have the game scouts. There's 3 people. And it's important to be quiet and to listen. MJ, you would like to know what was the most interesting wildlife critter to wake me up from my sleep? Well, very recently, about 4 days ago, I was just, humbly sitting on my bed, and I had my screen door open, and I was about to go put my outside light off and close the door, and then I had bang, 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 and it was a bush baby that had somehow gotten catapulted. I mean, obviously it had jumped, but the way it sounded, it was like something threw it onto my roof, and then jumped from the roof onto the tree in front of me and stared at me, and I got a fabulous view of it. Apart from that, other interesting critters that wake me up include crew members that want something or the other, and I'm asleep. Sometimes I ignore them. Most of the time I don't. Anyway, there's your fast 5 done, people. I'm going to keep on going and see what the bush has to offer.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Raymond, together with Nels, here as my cameraman. We are on a sighting of a leopard together, so it is very nice sighting. We had about 2 cubs as well, but the cubs, you can't see them, so just only the carcass, a little bit carcass which is still left, and the leopard which is lying down right over there, which is called Mama Sibuyi. Sibuyi, it's a surname of a person, that means a shed. So she's very calm and relaxed. She used to for the vehicle. And she's the one most people coming over here to see Sibuyi. So some who've been here for a long time, they call it Sibuyi, have got almost about 6 years. That's a fully grown female one. So you can see the other two cubs. Maybe later on, they might be coming very soon, or playing, because they were playing around, jumping on a tree, laying down. So maybe they will come again to join Mama. So right over there where it shows, it is where the carcass is, which they were sharing as they were together with the cubs. So it's just a bit left.
What other items that both cubs will survive until adulthood, Melissa?
Melissa, could you repeat your question? I didn't copy it well. Could you repeat the question? I didn't copy well.
What is the chances of both cubs surviving to adult?
Yeah, Melissa, there is a chance to survive if there is not that much hyena. But if it's lots of hyenas, there is not that much chance, because once the mother catch the hyenas, if there are plenty, they did win the food. So for them, the chance to survive is too low. But if it's less hyena, the mother managed to carry the meat up, so it is the chance for them to survive. So as you see here, she's relaxing and full with food. Oliver, the favorite food for leopard, mostly it's impala, because it's going to full for a little bit longer and it's easy for them to carry up. So most of the time they go for impalas to reduce for themselves, to keep on hunting time and again and again and again. Because if they catch a steenbok, it won't be full for a period. It will need to hunt again. But if it catch impala, if maybe it's lucky to get a full male impala, it can stay almost 2 to 3 days on the same spot, busy feeding for himself until the mate is over. Therefore, we'll start hunting maybe after 3 days, because you don't know when he's going to catch. It might be happen take 7 days before you're getting another meal. Layla, it's 2 cubs mostly, but sometimes both 2 cubs they survive, sometimes one surviving. It's very, very lucky to have 2 cubs surviving. But they're getting 2 cubs. So, as you see, that is getting up and down, up and down. It's also yes, you see, the head is up. It's also trying to protect their food and also to check where the cubs are. So she also have got a responsibility as their cubs to protect their cubs, and she needs to teach them how to kill as well. So once they manage to kill for themselves, they are solitary. They're not moving in a big number. You can see it's standing up. She had something, maybe it's the cubs, or she had something, or that can manage to disturb the cubs. You can see how active she is. She's telling us something. She don't need anybody to protect. Oh, she saw something. She's saying something, sort of like a warthog. So there is a termite mound. It might be happened the termite mound have got a hole where the warthog coming to sleep. So it might be something going to happen. Oh, she's walking back. and relaxing.
So you had a mama leopard, now you're seeing a baby lapwing. The mother's around here as well. This is a crowned lapwing. To be driving through here looking for any antelopes, and then all of a sudden, all of a sardine, this little thing hopped up and started running around catching little bugs and insects, and I thought it was so cute. It's so fluffy and downy. The adult is around here somewhere, so if we do bump into the adult, you'll get to see just how colorful it will be when it's older. But this little thing, oh, there's another one. There's another one. There's two of them. That's so cool. These things are amazing. Look how quickly they run about in these little legs. So they're obviously hunting. They mostly eat termites, and they really favor habitats that have been modified by humans. So, for example, old fields. So, for example, this was at some point a farmland of some sort, and it's now slowly being rewilded. But that's why they love it. The short grassy habitat is very easy to find little bugs and things, and you'll often find them on sports fields as well and golf courses. So that's why we've got them here. And it's really, really awesome to see these little ones doing very well. I don't know how many eggs a crowned lapwing usually lays and how many chicks they usually have, but there are two here which are probably in the next month or so going to be fully fledged and able to fly and move around on their own, which is amazing. Birds develop very quickly. It's always quite interesting to see, we might drive through here today and there's these fluffy downy chicks, and then in 2 weeks' time we'll drive through again and all of a sudden it just looks like 3 adults, maybe slightly smaller than the mother and father, but adults looking nonetheless. Oh, it's amazing. They've got these little, they almost look like cartoon characters. They run very quickly with their little legs, and then they stop, checking around, looking what's around, and then, little hiccup. It looked like he had a little hiccup there. Eating termites too quickly, slow down. I always used to get told I was eating too quickly, but then again, when you've got siblings, you got to learn to eat quick. This amazing little dude. I'm going to say this is a little guy, little dude. He just has that sort of energy. I don't know, running around. Where can you see the adult cat? I don't know. It seems to have moved to where we can't see him anymore. I think it's way further off to the left, maybe. But that's so nice to see these little things, and it's a nice open area, which is great for them, but maybe not so good in terms of predators. Because, of course, we've seen jackals in this clearing before, which will definitely snap up these little chicks. And we've seen lots of birds of prey flying over. So maybe, if there were more chicks before, they might have fallen prey to some sort of predator. There's the adult there. There's one of them. So this is interesting. This is a crowned lapwing, as I said. And so what they actually do, these lapwings, when they sense danger, they'll often dive bomb and try and mob any predator coming towards their chicks to try and chase them off. If that doesn't work, the chicks will lay flat and stay as still as possible, try and camouflage. And the adult, this one here, will then pretend it has a broken wing. That's where the name lapwing comes from. And it will flap its wings and hold the wings out at funny angles and try and entice the predator to think that there's an injured bird here, a very easy meal. As the predator, it might say, starts to follow the injured appearing bird, when it's far enough away, it will just stop acting injured and fly off. And the jackal or whatever predator it might be will continue on its way, hopefully bypassing where the chicks are hidden in the grass. Very clever, right? It's a very, very clever strategy. And it works. It works very well. What have you found? Something very tasty. It looks like it's trying to hide from us, burying its head in the sand. You're not an ostrich. You're a lapwing. So there's a lot of dry grass here. This is probably a lot of termite activity, especially now as the sun starts to dip and there's more and more shadows. The termites will start to come out. Remember, termites don't like the sun, so they'll be in all the shady patches eating all this dry grass. Well, this is awesome. It's the first time I've ever seen such tiny lapwing chicks.
Welcome back to Ngala, everyone. We've just come back onto the river, so we've actually just crossed it, and we found tracks of a female leopard with her youngster. And I just wanted to show you quickly. So here we go. This is it over here. If I draw it around, so we've got 3 lobes at the back, like that, doof, doof, and then 4 toes. And then the other one, which is in a little bit of shade, is the youngster, or the young cub that's moving up the road over here. Is this track over here, which helps us age them a little bit more. And so if you look here, I mean, it's quite messy, and there's lots and lots of lobes all over the place with 4 toes. You can't really see too much, but this is a track of a honeybag. Oh, sorry, no, it's a porcupine actually. Quite a large porcupine, and the way that I can say that it's a porcupine, looking at the drag marks, if you look at these very little lines going down the road over here, that's the tail quills that have dragged behind it. And by the looks of things, this leopard track is on top of the quill marks. So this must have been from some time, at least early morning, maybe even later morning. So it's pretty good for us to follow up on. We'll head down towards the river. There's another little pan off to the right of us where we're heading towards, and we might be able to catch up to them. So fingers crossed, maybe this is the tracks that we were hoping to see. So it's just one cub track, and so we think that it could be the Inyala female who hangs around this area mostly. And she's sometimes quite a tricky leopard to try and catch up to and find. But we'll probably drop down into the river where we can scan on both banks, and then from that point maybe just loop back up towards that water source that I mentioned is around that area. So already starting to cool down. I mean, I'm almost ready to put on my first layer. And so it might mean that these nocturnal animals could get up and start to move around a little bit more. It's amazing. We've driven this riverbed where all of these tall trees are, and we haven't seen a single vulture this afternoon. And I am quite sure that they could have headed straight towards where that buffalo carcass was. There were lots of vultures that were gathering around that area, and they might have just started gathering around there waiting for those lions to move off. Yeah, definitely the tracks are still here. That's really good. So she is going, or she was at least going straight down towards the river. One of the other smaller little critters that I'll be keeping out for along this dense bank along the Timbavati River is a very special bird called a grey-headed bushrack that, if we're lucky enough, we might be able to show you.
Yeah, well, I hope Eric and them do find a grey-headed bushrack. They're really cool birds. If you can get one of those, it'll be good. But in the meantime, we have something up on the mountain there. So that the bottom of the mountain, the base of the mountain from where we're sitting is about 700 meters. And where we are looking is probably 1.2, 1.3 kilometers away. And if you look very carefully, we are slowly zooming in. What could it be? Oh my goodness. Look at that. Those are Hartmann's mountain zebra. So it's very quiet down at the dam itself at the moment. So we just started scanning the hills, and there's that herd, and then way across the right there's another herd, but they're so tiny you're not going to see them properly, as opposed to these that you can see really clearly. But those are Hartmann's mountain zebras, so those are a long way away from us. And they will actually normally come down to drink water in the evening, but we actually bumped a very small herd of them just after the end of drive this morning. We had a small herd of them coming down in broad daylight to drink here at the water, which is quite interesting. But again, a lot of that is textbook stuff. So, oh yeah, this animal does this at night, and this one does this at this time of the day. And very often nature doesn't work like that, because and a lot of these textbooks and field guides are based on one or two observations or studies, good studies, but they've been done in a very, very specific area, very specific place. So whatever you read in a book, it's good data normally, but don't assume that that's the standard for whatever species you're looking at. That's what it will do. You've got to take the context of the data. But those mountains are beautiful. Wow. So we're hoping that we're going to get some activity now. It's the right time of day now for things like brown hyena to start moving. And typically they den up in the mountains on Tswalu. Also out in the dunes, but typically up in the mountains. So it'll take them a little while, if they're getting up now, to move down to the dam.
Hello, special. We have this gorgeous girl chewing on some combretum there, some bush willow. I was about to say, let's have a nice calming elephant sighting, and then she was like, no you don't. See how she's very still, she's listening. The rest of the herd is close by. How's those sounds? Amazing. If we have a look at her trunk, just a little closer, you'll see towards the bottom, she's actually got a bit of a, look like a little cut or something like that. Spot of blood. Can't really see it. But I think it would be inevitable that they'd sometimes get injuries on their trunks. And that's what she thinks of me, pointing out her injury. Pia, you'd like to know if it's true that an elephant's eye is the same size as a human being's? I don't know. I find it a little difficult to believe. Definitely the size of their iris is larger than ours, but I don't know. I haven't heard that one before. A lot of the animal myths, I'm starting to realize that I haven't actually heard many of them. But I guess, the different places we're from in the world and the things that we learn and we pick up, depending on where we're from, changes. A lot of the ones that I'm asked, I think, I haven't ever heard that. Look at this little one. Now, I think that the camera work looks quite good. What do you guys think? Because I have Theo on board now. Rebecca agrees. It looks good. So Theo is from Johannesburg. Fine young man. He's been having a good time with some lovely Ellie sightings. He's been with us in the Lions this morning, and now he's doing well. Lovely flapping. Talking about the the eye and the shape of the eye. I will tell you that I did get an impala eye not too long ago. And that impala's eye was quite comparable to the size of a human eye, I must say. I really looked comparable. It almost looked like a human eye. To me, the elephant's eye looks larger. Hi, Bo. You'd like to know if elephants follow a predictable migration track. Well, it's kind of been, elephants have huge home ranges. And within that home range, they know it very well, and they know what leads where and all of those kind of things. But in terms of actual migration, i.e. moving from one big landscape or one big area to another, most of that has kind of been messed up. There used to be actually a wildebeest migration that used to happen in southern Africa, and that doesn't really happen. Well, it doesn't happen at all anymore. And migration is simply following resources. And because of the elephant's massive home range, they don't really have a migration. They just move around in those areas. And because of their experience and being led by older, experienced matriarchs, they're able to find whatever resources they need within that area. Oh, there is a tiny thing just down there. Hello, Tiny. Hi, Cassie. You'd like to know if animals like to follow the trails on the reserve. We have roads on the reserve, and we have animal paths. So it's more that us humans like to follow their trails. So we use their animal paths. Animal paths are frequented routes that animals use. It may be from a boundary to a dam or something like that. And they create a path because they keep on walking on it. So they don't really follow the paths that we make, but we follow the paths that they make. As for the roads, animals like cats do like to walk on the roads at certain times, especially on boundary patrols and things like that. And that's because there's some shouting going on behind me. That's because it is the path of least resistance. And they use that. Animal like an elephant doesn't need to use a road, because it just can kind of power through anything, really. Those are the hippos at Vuyatela Dam, giving us the good old I must tell you that the sound of dropping elephant dung is something you'll never ever forget. Alright, Theo, bring it back this side. We have a request. Theo, we need you. Elephant screaming. We need you to give us a good thumbs up. Everyone has to see your thumb. If they don't see your thumb, we're not going to know. Good thumb? What do you think? I think it's a good thumb. Very, very nice. Alright, our elephants have moved and the hyena den is straight in front of me. I'm on Philemon's dip. So, what do you say? We go and have a look. There was another vehicle there just a little bit earlier, but they did not see anything. So let's try try our luck. Like I said, I feel there's change in the winds, except it's really still at the moment, but there's definitely some change happening. Perhaps it's just in my happiness that has gone higher than it usually is. All right, moving on. See you at the den.
I believe that you did enjoy the elephant. Now let's enjoy the leopard. So because of the movement of the car, she looked like that she's getting nervous. But she used to for the vehicle. Can see the cup. She's looking always where its brother is, and on the side it's where my mom is. So they will be joining soon, I believe. Maybe they can climb. We can wait a little bit to see if maybe they will come on a tree to finish up the last piece which is left. You can see the mom where it is. Also having a little bit sunny to enjoy the sun.
Question, Trish. Will leopard take the opportunity to kill something else if they have been killed already? Trish?
Yes, Trish, it is true that can be an opportunity is depending on anything that they can win. Because definitely they don't know when they're going to get another food again. It is an opportunity for them to have another meal in order to relax a little bit more days. Like Impala, for 3 of them, they won't be full for more few days. So it can be full for 2 days, but they need to relax almost. Actually, they're just afraid to say it, guys, bring us food, whatever as it is. So it's not easy that they can leave the food while they can win. If they can win, they can kill. But if they are full, they ignore. They don't have to waste energy because they need to save that energy. Look at the young one.
We just got a brown hyena. A brown hyena's just come down. You might come to look at this. Is incredible. What I find particularly interesting is the injuries that this brown hyena has on its neck and nose. It's been in a fight. You'll see there's lots of bite marks all around the neck. I'm going to talk very, 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 very softly. I'm going to talk very softly because the last thing I want to do is chase this animal away. Oh, look at this. Look at at us. Oh my goodness. That is our very own werewolf. What a sighting. I am blown away. I'm absolutely blown away by this. Oh my word. It doesn't get better than this. It does not get better than this. Exactly what I was hoping for and what I was saying on the last time you were with us. This is the time of day that they start moving. Oh my goodness, I'm in heaven. What a reflection. Look at that reflection. Brown hyena. Oh. Shenji says this is her favorite animal. This is brilliant. I agree. These animals are absolutely beautiful and totally remarkable. It's drinking the water right at the kudu carcass. I wonder if there's a better taste for it. Oh, this is amazing. But so this animal's got a lot of injuries on its neck, lots of bite marks. We know they do fight, and typically going for the neck and shoulders when they fight. What an absolutely gorgeous sighting. Oh my goodness. This is just one of the best sightings I've ever had of brown hyena. Oh, look at this. I don't know if it'll... Wildlife Rules has just asked, which is bigger, spotted hyenas or brown hyenas? Spotted hyenas are considerably bigger than brown hyenas. If they can get to 80 plus kilograms, these guys, a big one will be 60 or so. So there's a big size difference between spotties and brownies. But brownies are my favorite by far. I love all of them, that's the problem. They're all my favorites. But what a sighting to see these animals in broad daylight is something incredibly special. Wow. Jeez, this good is going a long way. Spotted hyenas last night, which we didn't see, but the tracks were there to tell the story. Brown hyenas, jackals. There's probably been other things on this as well. Maybe even tonight you can get things like jennets. If it gets pulled out onto the edge, they will also come and feed on it there as well, possibly. Or at least on the little things that are going around the carcass. There's so much life around her that is created or generated around a carcass like this. This is truly remarkable. So I'm just going to keep talking at an absolute whisper. So, Cheeky has just asked, do brown hyena and spotted hyena have the same track marks? Spotted hyenas are considerably larger, even in their tracks, big broad tracks. These ones are actually a lot more dog-like. But what I'll do is when we actually see a track on one of our segments of the coming days, I'll actually show you the difference, where we can actually look at them with a camera and say, okay, that's a brownie, that's a spotty. That'll be the easiest way to give you a clear indication of the differences in their tracks. But pretty easy to identify on the ground. I've got to get a photograph of this. This is really cool. I'm just like blown away how amazing this sighting is. Some people wait their whole life to see an animal like this. Sure, he's a really haggard old one. Although his ears aren't in bad condition. Normally if they've been in fights, their ears get very, very tatty. But this one's ears seem to be in fairly okay condition. But he's got a lot of bite marks around his neck. He's even got a chunk missing out of his nose. He's right ear is actually quite dirty. His right ear has got a lot of bite marks out of it as well. Wow, this is just best sighting I could hope to have this afternoon. I'm so excited that we can share this with you. Yeah. James has asked how complex is the social structure of the brown hyena. Very good question. So firstly, they've got these these extended family groups, but much smaller than spotted hyenas. If you look at spotted hyenas, you get these really big clans, sometimes 20, 30, 40 animals. And they'll take down large prey items like this kudu. So they don't just scavenge. So these brown hyenas are very, very solitary when they are foraging. So they go in much smaller family groups. And they forage individually. I've personally never seen them actually hunting together, and it's also actually quite unusual for them to hunt. So the social structure there in terms of the size of the group dynamic is very, very, very different. And in fact, if you get areas where they overlap, like Tswalu, the spotted hyena can really dominate the brown hyenas, particularly at things like kills, and even at den sites den sites. In other words, competition for den sites will be quite intense. We're very lucky here in terms of that we've got these mountains or these hills on Tswalu, because you'll find that the spotted hyena will be denning out on the flat ground in the dunes, whereas the brown hyenas like this one, they'll be denning up in the mountains normally. Oh wow. Geez, this is just such a great sighting. I'm so stoked. I'm always worried that these things come out like just when the light levels are really falling, and it makes it quite difficult. Oh, Marion, great question there. Marion has asked, will we be able to identify this animal by the bite marks on it, like that ripped nose, for instance, or will it actually heal and become difficult to identify? It's almost certainly going to be identifiable, not just by that injuries on the nose, but also on the ears, on that right ear. But although the problem with that as well is that those ears can get more ripped, so it can become challenging. But other ways that you look at brown hyenas are the stripes on the legs. They've got these very distinct patterns on the legs. It does take a bit of practice though, but you can identify them like that. And totally different shaped ears to spotted hyenas. Spotted hyenas have got those lovely teddy bear ears, those big round ears. These are big and pointy. And of course, totally different body features in terms of these are long-haired, shaggy brown animals. Spotted hyenas much shorter fur and spots and a grey colour. Oh man, I'm so happy now. This is incredible. What an incredibly good sighting. And you'll get a couple feeding on a carcass. If it's a big carcass, you can get 3 or 4 of them feeding at the same time. But normally it'll almost always be from the same family group. Whereas if you look at Gabby has asked, why does it seem to be struggling to rip the meat? It's probably not even that hungry. You know, I'm sure its teeth are in good condition, and it'll probably want to just pull that carcass out later. There you go. And also remember that those teeth are designed for really shearing through bones. So if we spend a couple of hours here, or over the coming days, you'll see how the brown hyenas will start going through that carcass. Particularly things like those rib bones, the leg bones, they'll carry away completely, and they will literally shear those off at the joints very, very easily. So this cornacles at the back when it's standing side on and chewing like that. It's using those cornacles to start shearing that meat and the tendons and ligaments. It's listening to something down to the right. We can't see anything yet, but there might be something else approaching. I'm just going to stick here and not go anywhere.
It's a brown hyena, eh?
Yes. Thank you very much. Welcome back. I believe you did enjoy the brown hyena. It was fantastic. Something very special that we don't see quite often. So we are still on a leopard called Tswalu. The cubs both, they were a little bit active before. So now they've been relaxing. So there were one of them. She was joining her mom, playing a little bit. Therefore, she moved a little bit away. So the other one also as well. She was still on her way, and then she's also relaxing. I believe because now over here on a sighting, there is also another vehicle, 2 vehicles for outside, which also have got some guests. I believe that we're closing the chance for them to go up on a tree again. There is, if you look, can you look at the right nails of a mom? The other female one, she's crawling a little bit, trying to join her mom. Yes, you can see she wanna join her mom to go and play again. So to me, they do want to come back for the carcass to down it, but there is no chance because it's sort of like, for them, I believe they saw that it looked like overcrowded because some other vehicle, they're very close to the tree in order to climb for them. So that's why they're still relaxing and waiting for everyone to move in order to get on a tree to finish it. The meal. They won't go away until the meal finish. Sort of like becoming a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Ian, the leopard or are the carnivores, they're only eating meat. So they hunt for anything which have got blood. And for the animal that they can win, they can't hunt for anything that they can't win. It's a waste of time. Look at baby. He's going to join mom to play. Mama, can I play with you? Is the question, and the mama says yes. Oh, she passed. I thought maybe she would want to play with. Oh. It's going up on a mount, climbing on a termite mount. Where earlier on was some squirrel. Maybe he believed you're going to double check that the squirrel are down. Very close that I can catch or not.
Question. Susie, do leopards inherit their parents' fat habits? Susie?
Susie, no, they can't inherit because this animal are very solitary. Once it's fully grown, automatically have to be separated. So even those one, they're still under parental.
So we've just seen a very classic brown hyena behavior. What they typically do is they'll actually take the legs off a carcass and they'll sometimes carry them far away and stash them. So this guy's just spent the last 20 minutes dismembering this kudu and we're actually taking one of the front legs off and now he's carrying it away. So he's just gone behind the bushes here now, but he might just come out into view. I'm just going to hope. I don't know if he will. But this has been such an insane brown hyena sighting. I'm absolutely ecstatic about this. Oh, wow. Now I think he's moving away from us now through that thicket. But I couldn't have hoped for a better outcome in terms of brown hyena viewing this afternoon. And that's the thing, it's just like, it's pays to spend time. Pays to spend time with these things. A carcass is quite like a given because you're going to get some activity there, but you never know what that is going to be. It could just be jackals, it could be brown hyena. Can you see that duck? Old Sheldon is back doing his handstands. Look at that. I could never balance like that. That would just be, I can barely stay upright on two legs. Yes, that is cool. Look at that. So that's just one feeding strategy of them when they do that. They actually get down and they're foraging on the bottom. And then they got the normal dabbling that they do, going, just filter feeding as they move. But then they also can go, they can actually feed on fresh growth of grass and things as well, away from the water. But that light on him, oh my goodness, look at that. He's going down. Oh, man, what an afternoon. Oh, wow. Stefan has asked, are there many bird species that nest during winter? Not that many, eh? And it's, I was chatting with a friend of mine, Rob Thompson. He runs the whole pygmy falcon sparrow weaver project here. Or not sparrow weavers, pygmy falcon social weaver projects here. And he heads up the Fitzpatrick Institute at University of Cape Town. And it's quite interesting there. We were talking about the fact that these ducks nest underground. is probably one of the key factors that enables them to actually nest right in the middle of winter, in the heart of winter. I mean, as you've seen, we've had temperatures of -6, -7 degrees this week. Now, if you had eggs in those conditions, even if the adult bird's trying to incubate them, it's going to be really tough on the adults as well as those youngsters. So by nesting underground, that really, you got that beautiful amelioration effect, that buffering effect of the temperature inside these burrows. So that enables them to do that. But what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because these birds are utilizing, because they live in these really arid areas where there's limited nesting sites, that may have evolved because of that. So because there's limited nesting sites, well, okay, what do you nest underground? So there's a bit of an interesting thing going on there, and a lot to be found out about these birds. We know very little about shell ducks. And on some major water bodies in southern Africa, apart from Egyptian geese, which are super common birds, this is the second most common duck out of a whole lot of the ones that were studied. So, and yet we know so little about it, and that just shows how exciting this is, what we've still got to learn.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Welcome back to Ambient Ngala. We have just been listening to a grey-headed bushshrike calling in this bush that we are focused in on. And this is a bird that I've been wanting to try and show everyone for such a long time. It is just such a tricky bird to try and see because it is so secretive. And they hang around in very dense bushes. So I think pan slightly to the left there, Owen. Just slowly, slowly, slowly. So everybody keep a lookout for like a bright orange or yellow, because that's exactly where it was in. Maybe up a little bit. At the moment it's not moving around, which is making it tricky. Maybe pan slightly more to the left. Oh, this is going to be so frustrating because I can almost see it. I'm going to creep, and I'm going to move a little bit more forward. If you just focus in on there. It is one of the most pretty birds. Okay, there's a gap there. Okay, so go right. Yeah, there we go. There, look dead center. We can just see it. Yeah, so maybe about a few centimeters below center. That orange looking leaf thing. That's it. So it maybe doesn't look too much for now, but to see a grey-headed bushshrike is insane. And then see that's slightly, I mean, from at the bottom is the yellow, and then it moves up towards the orange, and then if you look directly above it, there's a little grey head, and so that's called the grey-headed bushshrike. And such a cool bird. I've been trying to get you to see this for such a long time. So Rebecca is saying that she can't see it. So everyone, if you're struggling, look slightly off of center and just look for something yellow in the bush. It's the yellowest of the yellow things that you can see. It almost looks like a leaf. Okay. So that's the part that we can see at the moment, and it was calling, so it was making quite a distinctive call. These birds have got a very, very noticeable call most of the time, but this call changed slightly, and I'll try and mimic it for you. I'm not the best, but it goes, so a couple of clicks, and then a low whistle like that. And so that's what we heard initially. And then lucky enough, it was hopping around the top of the trees, and it looks like it's settled down there. So just maybe whilst it's still, I don't know if we'll be able to see it any better if I move the vehicle. So this is probably the best view that we have of it for now. I'd love for it to move around a little bit, just so we could see it out in the open. And so this just shows you how hard it is, and I don't know why I made myself the challenge to find it. It's taken me 2 months. But this is pretty much what we see of these birds. All of the bushshrike species hang around in these very, very, very dense bushes like that. And so for us to spend so much time with it is actually rather special. I'd love for it just to move so everyone knows that we haven't planted a funny looking leaf and pretending that it's the bushshrike. So let me just quickly, we'll maybe see, we'll keep an eye on it, but maybe if I can just show everyone what it looks like. Let me just get to the bushshrike family first. Here we go. And so this is what we're looking at over here. And so we get a few different species of bushshrike within this area. What we're looking at is the grey-headed bushshrike. So this is it here. And what we are seeing is literally just a tiny little patch of the yellow and up into the orange over there. And then this one has got a very, very distinctive grey head. And then the bill is actually very, very nice and pronounced, and it's hooked. And so because of that hooked bill, it can feed on quite a few different species, like quite large lizards, quite big insects. I don't really think as much as mammals. And then this is the other one that we see around here, the orange-breasted bushshrike. So they both look very, very similar. The only difference really is the size and the size of the bill. So that's a much more petite little bill for much smaller insects. What do you think, Owen? Are we going to have one more view? Let's see if it's moved around ever so slightly. And I don't think it has. Okay, so go, yeah, dead center now. So look at the color there, and compare that to the book. So that's as good as I've gotten so far, but you never know. Maybe we can get better in the next 2 or 3 months. But I think that was a pretty good way to find the bushshrike and show everyone. We are going to carry on moving from here.
Welcome back to Djuma Safaris. As my name is Ramon, we're together. I'm still on top. There is one young female leopard on top, which is still feeding. And the mom still lying down over there. And the other young male is still on the ground, lying down over there, a little bit far, about 50 meters from here. So the female one, she did decide to take a little bit, starting to have a dinner. So as you see where she is, it's where the male is trying to have a little bit, because for these animals, they are not compete like lions that anyone have to fool first before the other one. So the competition, it's not for fighting, it's just for meal. Like not the lions, that the competition also a war sometimes, that each and everyone wants to grab a big piece and move off. But for this one, they are gently and soft and relaxed. They give each and everyone a chance to eat. Even when they're eating, they are not fighting. They just share the meal if it's a chance, because it is a brother and sister and a mom. So I got a question earlier on. It was sort of like a misunderstanding of the question. They do heritage sometimes, but all of them, because if you look on our naked eye, it will look like the same spot. But once you take it a picture exactly together with the other one, it won't be there exactly the same spot to the other one. But on our naked eye, yes, they look the same. But the spot can't be spot exactly on the same like the other one. can hear that now she's enjoying exactly the meat. It's more than the yes. Yeah, that's good now.
Nigel give you a tip.
It can be a little bit up. Nils, the camera can move a little bit up. Yes, go ahead a little bit more. Good. Now we can view the whole, not only more branch more than what she is doing.
Question, Debbie. How long will the flock stay with her, Debbie?
Debbie, that's a good question. Because the mom, she can't feed them the rest, as we said, agreed that it says they are solitary. So mostly once they complete a year or 9 months is the time when they're starting to hunt for themselves. Once they manage to kill for themselves, sometimes it is an advantage for them. Immediately when they're starting to, she's realized that now they can manage to kill for themselves. She can leave them. So there are solitary ones. One of them or both of them manage to feed for themselves. They won't be with the mom. They will be separated. Each and everyone will take its way. That's a good question, Debbie. Thanks. Okay, guys, let's try to take another again. Still on the lap, but we're trying to change the direction where we can manage to see.
We decided to come in and see what is happening around these open areas, and these two young hyenas are walking straight down the road. And the fascinating thing is they walked straight past the zebra, and neither of them reacted to one another. Those zebras probably notice that they're young hyenas, they're not really doing anything or threatening to the zebra, so the zebra let them pass. The hyenas realize those zebras are way too big for them to try. And so these two hyenas are probably in their teenage years. And see, both of them have now stopped. They're still probably about 50 or 60 meters away from us. So they're just making sure that we're not a threat before they approach. But with such powerful scent, they might be coming straight up towards us. And so they're probably starting to get more and more active as they get older. And one thing that these young hyenas might be looking for is something like a leopard with a carcass that you've just been watching. And they'll happily lie down at the base of the tree, and they'll probably just try and wait for scraps to come. But I really do find them quite cute when they're this age. They've just, their proportions on their face are rather quite cute. Those big round ears on either side of their face, still very small heads, and just the way that they bow their neck down to get a closer look at you. See, it looks like this one in the front is much braver. One at the back is taking a bit more time to get used to us. And so I'm not going to move or start the engine, just let them simply walk past us and carry on with their day. And this is an area where we've been seeing lots and lots of hyena activity recently, but we just haven't found a solid den, and so I don't know if any of the females have given birth to very, very small ones recently. And see, its head's low down to the ground, so it's smelling that twig. Darcy, I think at this age they probably will have a similar strength bite to a brown hyena, but when they're adults, they've got a notoriously strong and powerful bite. And so at this age, they're still going through their toothing phase, and so they'll be chewing on all sorts of old bones, old cartilage, trying to get those muscles in the jaw nice and strong. But when they're adults, they'll have a much more powerful jaw than a brown hyena. And an adult, if you look at a giraffe femur, that is something probably in the region of between 3.5 inches, or maybe 7 or 8 centimeters in diameter. A powerful, fully grown hyena is capable of crunching through that in one bite. Let's listen. So we've got wildebeest alarm, or not alarm calling, territorial calling on the left. And in the distance, we've got other hyenas calling. And we've got another hyena coming in fast. It's going to run straight past the vehicle. It's coming from behind us. Look, they're calling, they're calling. Here comes this one running in. I've never seen hyenas this young calling. And they're taken off. That was incredible. I hope this one calls again for us. There's something going on there. There's definitely something going on. There's that excited, laughing call, and they've just all taken off. We'll see if we can listen exactly where it's coming from, but they know exactly where to go. So there's a road not too far away. I think we're going to try and quickly loop around there and see if we can see what is going on. So I'm going to start the vehicle and drive around quite quickly. Let's see if we can get going.
Welcome back. I believe that you did enjoy the hyenas. where it's running up and down. It's a very something special to see a little bit baby hyena calling. The cubs, even myself, I'll be interested to hear them calling. So we're still on a sighting of a leopard. One is standing on a tree. She's enjoying the meal to get on top of the carcass. Busy enjoying the meal. So the others, they're still on the ground, relaxing, watching that little one while she's busy enjoying. As I said, sometimes they give each other a chance to feed. They will also give another one a chance again. So it is marvelous sighting right over here. You can see that he's fighting against the carcass. Oh, nice one. She also need to protect not to fall down, because sometimes it's fall down if the hyenas are very close. They'll take the beak and run off. And it will be, oh, sorry, I'm not full yet. So she need also to save not to fall down, because it's need to leave the other one in order to enjoy as well. And look how is she doing. Kyle, I did not copy what exactly your question needs. No. Sorry, Kyle, they can't eat the hoof. It's the left over for the hyenas. So they're only eating the meat and leave the hoofs for the hyenas. The hoofs for the leopard is the same as the horns. They don't have evenly want to taste them. So it's only the food for the hyena.
We've managed to catch up to the hyenas that we heard calling and the ones that just took off running. And we found another one, and just look at how dark it is. It is incredibly dark, especially around the legs, around the body. So I think this is actually a different one, but pretty much exactly the same age of the other two that we saw. And we did see them briefly, but they might have moved off into the bushes. So I wonder, I mean, there must be some sort of den site, whether it be just a temporary den or whether it be one with a few more individuals. Here we go. Here comes the adult. Straight past, and she's still on a mission. This is the one that came in and was running across. She's so fat, she's full, looks like she's lactating too. So she's had a big decent meal, or she is pregnant. See, there's one of the youngsters on the right there. They're all following her now though. Can you still see her? Do you want me to move back?
We're going to have to move. This is the little one.
Yeah, we've got the one curious youngster just checking us out. But it looks like it's on the way to follow that big adult. And we heard that very excited laughing noise coming off to the left of us here. And so we thought that perhaps they might have seen a kill of sorts. But I'm just going to position the vehicle slightly backwards, because looks like they've just stopped in the open area and they're listening by the looks of it. And so they'll be listening for other hyenas to be calling now. All of a sudden she's just become very quiet. Her ears are pointing in exactly the direction that we heard all of that excitement. I'd love to come back here maybe tomorrow sometime and see if it is an actual den. Tailor-made, they will definitely, I don't know if they have specific calls per clan, but they'll be able to identify different calls from different members of the clan. And so, I think, if I'm not mistaken, humans have recognized at least 14 different ways of communicating, or different vocalizations of hyenas. It might be more. I'll have to double check that. But they're capable of recognizing each individual by the call. And so they'll be able to tell if it's part of their clan or if it's not, just by listening out. So I don't think they'll have I don't think each clan has got their own specific call that they give. There's that youngster, and just look how dark it is compared to the adult. With such powerful senses, like that powerful hearing and that big powerful nose, everything must just be so exciting to check out. So those youngsters are probably still in the process of figuring everything out, figuring what the smells and the noises are, and slowly but surely they'll start joining these adults on bigger, longer excursions for the night. And so it's just the two still. We're missing the two youngsters that are very similar in age. They are probably somewhere lurking around these bushes here. We've actually come very, very close towards that large waterhole that we've been spending lots and lots of time in the east. And we've recently just found 2 hyenas that were killed by lions in this exact area. And I wonder if that was potentially from this clan. So I think it seems there's another one coming to join them. It seems like that excitement is over. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to stick around for too much longer. I think we'll give it another 2 minutes and then from there move on.
Welcome back. We're still on leopard sighting, IR, now you're doing. Still on a carcass, the young female, and the fully grown female, she's still on the ground, and the young one still on the ground, lying down. So that other one is still feeding on top of the tree. So I believe soon the other one will join, because it was coming and then lie down again. So he's just waiting his sister to enjoy as much as it is. Therefore, he will jump on to join the meal. Most of the predators, like leopard and lion, they are very, very active during the night, more than during the day. Especially if it's very hot, they don't have to haste attack for hunting. But if it is overcast, it's the same for them, it's the same as during the night. They are more active as well.
Question. Anushka, can you see or hear any hyenas around? Anushka?
Yes, and that's a good question. As we said that the hyenas, they are scavenging, and they're also very good at smelling. So at this moment, we haven't seen any hyena yet. It might be happen that come anytime, because they are also nocturnal animal, that they are more active during the night. So anytime they can come. I just heard some calling about, I would say it almost about 200 to 300 meters away, that they might come soon. So you can see she's now well trained to grab the food, not to fall down. So she need to take as much as it is, that once she jump down, if someone get up, she won't get any chance again to get the meal again. Because it's almost finished. The other two, once they go up, they will be finished everything. They will leave the hoofs only.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
We have just heard a few growls, slash sawing, slash not sure. And we're out on quarantine. Now I know a leopard was seen during the day, in fact during drive, and then I had a look at it just on the north side of Vuyatela Dam. So Rex and I tried to follow up on that leopard, but I haven't picked up on tracks. Now I suspect that leopard is still around here. I've looked around the boundary, nothing exiting. And I think that leopard is still around here somewhere. The way that it came up and on that side of the dam, of the shore, it should have come right to Vuyatela access. And I'm not seeing any tracks here. Susie, you say we want a last minute tlalamba? Aren't those the best type of tlalambas? I'd taken any tlalamba because I actually might have seen her last night, by the way. I was closing the gates at Vuyatela, and there's a long gate, and I looked both sides, and I saw something on the gate, and then the door closed, and then I went to the door, and then I looked at the gate again, and it was gone, and to me it looked leopardy. But we have some zebra to keep us company for the last few seconds of drive. They're looking just a little bit concerned. Nothing too crazy. But they were giving us a bit of a jump and stuff a little earlier, and they keep looking out in that direction. Oh well, guys, hoped for a last minute leopard, but we got many leopards today. So we'll see you tomorrow, and thank you for your questions and your comments.